Greetings, Mason Storm here. I like making meals on a budget, so when I go to the grocery store and they have something marked down, a lot of times I get it. Today we have some trout, and I thought I'd use some saffron with it and do some poaching. So I have half a teaspoon of saffron, half an onion sliced, about a cup of butter, 1 teaspoon of minced garlic, and 1 cup of rice wine vinegar. I couldn't find my white vinegar, couldn't find my apple cider vinegar, that's what I had to deal with. And of course the piece of meat. Our first step's going to be to look at our piece of meat. Now as you can see, this thing is kind of on the big side. So I'm going to cut it into smaller pieces. Make sure you use a real sharp knife for doing this, because I didn't, and I'm not going to show all the footage because it was quite brutal. So just pack all that up and set it aside and we can move on. We're going to be getting a nice big pan out here, and we're going to be adding our butter and our rice wine vinegar. If you got white vinegar, feel free to use it. We'll go for medium heat, and then we're going to add some water because we want to have about 1 inch or 2 of water in the bottom of the pan. We're not boiling it, we're poaching it. Might as well throw in our onions as well at this point, and our garlic, and while we're at it for good measure, our saffron. So we're kind of making a little bit of a broth that we're going to be poaching in. Usually you would add lemons at this point as well. Usually it's lemons and onions kind of together. But I didn't have any, and I thought it would kind of overpower the saffron a little bit. And using a little bit more of a mild vinegar with the rice wine versus the white vinegar kind of changes dynamic as well. But traditionally it would just be water, onions, and lemon. Of course, the white vinegar as well. Either way, we have a real tasty broth here, and it's going to give us some fabulous onions and fish. So once we get up to temperature, 140 Fahrenheit, 60 degrees Celsius, not quite boiling, but on its way there, because we're not boiling the fish, we're poaching the fish. Then we're going to add our fish into our broth here, and we're going to let the poaching process begin. Now I tried to get an angle of the camera to show the fish as it cooks. You don't have to move the fish when it's cooking, it can just kind of sit where it is. And what you're going to notice is the color of the fish is going to change. And I'm going to speed up the footage and you're going to see it kind of travel up to the top of the fish. You're also going to notice that my smaller pieces of fish cooked first. And once one of your pieces of fish is done, simply place it on a plate with some paper towel on top of it, and then cover with foil to keep it warm. Might even be better to throw her in the oven at a low temperature as well, just to kind of keep it going. But as you can see, the color really changes. Now this piece here in the center is kind of really thick, so it's probably going to take forever to cook the normal way, so I'm just going to flip it over, give it another 2 minutes, and it should be done. Maybe 2 minutes is a little aggressive, like 30-45 seconds. Usually it's about 10 minutes to poach a fish, but if you have something really thick, it can take a little bit longer. Of course, if it's thin and small, it can be really quick, so keep an eye on it. Just go by the color of the fish to know when it's done. There's another technique that's similar to this, where you just boil butter and then you chop your fish into really small pieces, take your butter off the stove and dump them all in and let it cook that way. I'd like to try that maybe next time, but this way works pretty good. And as long as when you flip it over, it doesn't fall apart, but it is what it is. And every other piece turned out okay, so that's our finished product. Now what you want to do too is either drain your liquids off here and get a lot of those onions out, because those are some of the best onions you can ever have. I mean, they've been cooking in lovely rice wine vinegar with the butter and the saffron, just so many flavors there. You just want to have some with your fish. And that's what I call poached trout. So let me know in the comments below how you make yours. If you make anything similar to this, that's cool too. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. And until next time, stay awesome.